the brand established.
Oh, okay. So you're still the not the app, but the website interface, I guess is what we'll call it, where you can go and figure out offers and stuff like that and put your information in. That's active, but you're still in the process of linking houses. And is it like an MLS?
So basically, we need sellers to sign up to post the properties on our listings. And once they're on the website and people can find the property and then contact the seller and view the property, at that point, if they're really interested in the property, they can actually go back to the website, DIYoffer.ca, under listings. And there's actually a little button under for each listing that they can actually click on that little button and actually submit an offer directly from the website. And it's a guided process that they can be self-directed. So they don't need an agent to actually tell them what the information that they need to fill in, because that's the whole app that gives them the direction that they need.
See, I love this. And I think that, you know, anytime you can disrupt an industry, and it sounds like that's what you guys are looking to do, I love it. James, maybe we'll pop the jingle up here, get started, and then we can introduce Connie to all of our folks. And James? Before
we do, you can see I'm not wearing the Soaring Profit shirt that I always usually wear, and Pat always usually wear. I'm wearing Walking Tall. Walking Tall is this great organization of the States. The founders, the two of the founders are victims of two different shootings. And what they're trying to do is raise awareness for mental health and also raise money for victims of shooting that have gone through a tough time. They're an amazing organization, and I hope you all go out there, check them out. WalkingTall.com, I believe. If you just type Walking Tall in your Google search, you'll find them. They got a lot of great merch, but they're also doing amazing things, and you should get out there. Go see them, please, because I tell you all the time, I'm all about organizations giving back, doing more, changing the world, and these guys literally changing the world. Today we got Connie. Before we start, though, we are live Thursday night, Soaring Profits, 9 p.m. Welcome. We love y'all.
Felt like I was in a little Saturday Night Live there and we're live. That was awesome, James. As always, folks, thank you for joining us on a Thursday night. First of all, before we get started, I want to introduce Connie here. But before we get started with that, I want to thank Mark from Zen Sandwich, who was on before us, and he did this whole little thing at the end of it, segueing that he was kind of the opening act for this evening. So I want to shout out, Mark. Thank you so much for doing that. That was a lot of fun, pal. So I enjoyed you. Tonight, though, we have Connie Heinz. Connie, you have started a very interesting business, an opportunity for a lot of people. As you know myself, I'm a real estate investor. I own multifamily properties. And you have started DIYoffer.ca. And you're Hamilton-based, that's as I understand?
Yes, I am.
Perfect. Now, this product, and just before we started into the logo, we're trying to get people in here a little bit. This is really exciting stuff because it's taking the real estate model, go get an agent, you get an agent, we all go walk through your house on a Sunday afternoon, and we're kind of disrupting that. We're blowing that up a little bit. Connie, can you tell us a little bit about what you do, why you do it, who you do it with, and what you're doing? Not that I'm putting you on the spot or anything, but let's hear
that. So what I'm doing is I am definitely changing up real estate. I am trying to eliminate at least one agent, and for people around the globe. In Ontario, agent commission fees are usually split, so it's about 2.5% for the listing agent and 2.5% for the buying agent. So I am truly helping the seller who pays both commission fees. I'm helping the seller to actually potentially eliminate half or potentially all of the commission fees. The average home price in Ontario is running around $800,000 to $900,000. So you're looking at $40,000 in commissions,
right,
roughly. So that's a chunk of money.
Yeah, and
So
especially in our market right now, like you're saying, with the average home price, and for those of you that are in the United States that are watching this, you guys have seen a real estate boom over the last little while. But here in Canada, we've been so low in our rates, and our immigration process is bringing people into the country, have taken properties over the last 10 years, and in a lot of situations, almost tripled their market values. And we're seeing rates that are starting to skyrocket. We and as consumers trying to purchase properties in Canada right now are really at the end of our leverage. You know, some people are saying, you know, what does this mean for the market? But when you have a product like what you're offering here, you're able to cut major expenses out of the process. So you're putting an run me through the actual process. I have a home that I would like to list. How does Connie help me?
So we're even changing up real estate even more. So in the traditional model, you would pick up your phone and you would call a realtor to say, I want to list my house. We are actually even eliminating the realtor. And instead of calling your realtor, you actually call your lawyer. And you call your lawyer and say, I want to list my house on DIYoffer. And they will guide you through the process. So you're actually not paying DIYoffer, you actually are paying your lawyer. And so this model is a B2B2C model. So we are partnering with lawyers to offer a service. It's a listing and negotiation platform. So the seller can list the property on DIYoffer.ca so that people can find the house, and it's all of the seller contact information is posted on each listing, and buyers can find the property, contact the seller, view the property. They can actually book showings through the platform, and if when they're ready they want to come back and actually submit an offer, there's actually a little button right on the website that you click on, and you can submit an offer through a secure digital platform. But the best part is it is self-guided. So throughout the whole process, all of that intimidating information that you think you don't understand, you can actually click on the little question marks, little tips come up. They give you everything that you need to understand what you need. So for example, if you say assumable contracts, you think most people don't know what assumable contracts are, but if you say, for example, your rental hot water heater, buyers need to know what the rental hot water heater is and the fees and in what terms, if it's a rent to own, if it's a pure rental, or if it's financed. If it's financed, when does it expire? How much money's left on it? Do you, as the buyer, do you want the seller to pay that out before you purchase it, or are you going to assume that? Those are the types of things, simple questions, but you need to understand exactly what is required in submitting that offer. So we give that information through the process. So you can go to the website, click on that little button, submit an offer, put the offer in. So the offer is non-binding. And what does this mean? Is that you can negotiate the terms of sale. So the terms of sale are basically your listing price, your closing date, the conditions that you want to include, the inclusions. So example, most people usually sell their appliances, so you can list your fridge, your stove, your washer, dryer. And most people usually add a condition on home inspection and financing. That's pretty straightforward. So you can add all of those through the negotiation platform. And once when a seller finalizes and accepts an offer, the platform actually locks the listing so the seller cannot continue negotiating with other buyers. And then the platform actually emails out a term sheet to the parties and to their lawyers to then draft and execute the final contract. That is where we are eliminating the realtor. A buyer may come with a realtor or may not come. If there's a savvy buyer like you two who are very comfortable in buying properties, you could easily understand the process do a direct negotiation with the buyer, and the seller would save 100% of the commission fees in the end.
Okay.
So
your
is it possible? Oh, here we go. Sorry. So folks out there, just so you know, we have a big storm where we are. And so our internet's kind of funky. We may gap out a little bit. And Pat and I may not be able to hear each other right away. So my question is, so you were talking about the house being locked in. So it's an interesting concept because in other places, on other things like MLS and Remax and all of them, you can list your house in multiple places. Will that affect the DIYoffer system?
So you can still list your property multiple places. For example, you could put a posting up on Kijiji or Facebook to get other traction. And in our platform, on the negotiation platform, basically the platform creates a unique offer page that is a unique page for that property, and you can copy the direct URL and paste that on any posting. So you can paste it into your Kijiji ad, you can paste it onto Facebook, you can share it on your social media, you can email it out. So basically you could go crazy and say, anybody want to put an offer on my property? Here, click on this link. It's really that easy.
So, Connie, we had a question up here in regards to kind of, again, we're talking about disrupting an industry, and Mark, Zen Sandwich, he said, have you gotten much pushback from the real estate agent community about what you're doing and any critics you have to deal with? And it's the first thing that came to my mind is that you're looking to disrupt an industry. Obviously, when you start moving somebody else's cheese, they're going to be like, what's going on around here, right? So how are you able to, okay, so if I want to list my property with you, I go to my lawyer, I'm using your program. How am I going to be able to market my product, take it to market, get it in front of as many eyes as possible? Again, here in Canada, we have the MLS system, multiple listing services system.
Yeah.
MLS. I'm saying system services.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's like realtor.com in the States, or Zillow, or it's a multiple listings, right? So am I able to list with you folks, and if I did like another competitive offer, like being able to list it on those things, kind of touching base with what James was saying?
Yes, you can definitely list your property on multiple listing services. The only thing as a seller that you need to be aware of is you need to make sure that the listing price that you are posting throughout multiple services is you're indicating that the listing price is the exact same on multiple listing services. You cannot change the listing price on one platform versus another platform. But if you're consistent and you set your listing price and you can post it on multiple listing services, here in Canada, we can, it's something called a mirror listing. So you can list your property on MLS, but you don't actually need a realtor to do that. You can do that yourself.
Okay.
So
see,
I actually
that's a big, I would be concerned as a consumer going, okay, if I don't use an agent, I can't get it in front of all of the eyes. And then I'm in a situation where, I want to drive a bidding war on my property if I'm selling. If I get 500 eyes on my property in a weekend, or if I say, hey, I'm cutting out your agent's commission or a low commission on the one end, are they going to push my property? Are they going to bring their people to my property? But it sounds like you've got a solution to that.
So yes, we're just launching our platform, and we understand that we are just getting our name and brand out there. So we really do actually recommend that people also do an MLS mirror listing to get eyeballs to the property. And we also do social media pushes through Instagram, LinkedIn to get people to see and understand what we're trying to do. And so, the more attention that you can get to the property, the better for you, the seller. And yes,
absolutely,
you have to also, as a for sale by owner or a DIY listing, you really do have to understand that if an agent is coming with a buyer, they need to be compensated, and you have to be realistic in what the traditional market indicates to pay that agent. So you just have to understand where they're coming from.
Absolutely. And I've seen deals where like I have a couple friends of mine who are in real estate as agents, and we'll be sitting around, kind of talking shop a little bit, maybe having a beverage or two. And they will say like, okay, well, this property here, I've got, 3 buyers that are looking for 3-bedroom, 2-bath. And okay, so this guy here, like we have very low rate as in the rate that they're asking for here in Canada. Like we have some discount brokers, I would say is the best way to put them. And like 1% realty. Like these guys are basically like a fee for service type realty broker. And some people won't, they're like, nah, I don't like going there because it's setting a precedent for the realtors ourselves. It's pushing back. So again, kind of going back to his question is that you folks, it sounds kind of like you're building a platform to be able to rival the MLS as well, because you want to build a database of property.
True. Yes. And actually, our whole platform is really going to be a DIY marketplace. So there are sort of 3 components. So we bring sellers to list the property, buyers to view the properties, the current listings. But then there's another component, and in the process of actually working through a real estate deal, from preparing the house to closing to moving, there's a slew of different services that you need in that process. So we've actually also put together a directory to help you. If you're in Peterborough, you need to find somebody local that will actually come. And if you want to paint your house, you can find a local painter. If you want someone to do professional pictures, you can find someone that will take professional pictures. And when you are putting an offer in on a house and you want to find a local home inspector, you can find a home inspector. And you can find everything that you need. There are 88 different services listed there that you can touch on, review, and understand where these people start to come into play and what you need.
Well, I think you touched on Tammy's question exactly. Is we're talking about Tammy's concerned about the compliance aspect, making sure walking people through the process and making sure that all the legal stuff is done, surveys, inspections, and the legal papers. You're saying go right to your lawyer. And you're going to interface with somebody who you trust as your legal expert, knows your situation. And all you're doing on your end is providing a checklist process to be able to make sure that your listing fits all those criteria that you're already established with that professional legal person that you trust.
Yes, and that is, I believe, in my opinion, one of the reasons why other for sale by owner services have not gained huge traction is because you are selling your most valuable asset. And when you're selling your most valuable asset, you want to know you have a person that you trust and confide in and know that they're going to take care of you. So that is why we're not just doing a listing service. So we are partnering and replacing that realtor with your lawyer that you already have a trust relationship with. So by having that person there, you can feel confident that they have your back. They will guide you through the process and give you the information. The other thing is that realtors actually cannot give you legal advice. They're not licensed to give you legal advice. And so only lawyers who are licensed can provide legal advice. So because we're flipping the model, you get legal advice first, and you're not actually going to your lawyer at the very end when the deal's already negotiated and accepted. And then you go to the lawyer at the very end. You're going to your lawyer first. Yeah. So you're getting all the legal protection first and making sure you're protected.
I love that. You have all of, again, here in Canada with the capital gains processes are tax. Again, with multifamily, you have your principal residence that is not taxed on purchase on sale. But anything else, you're getting capital gains issues. So if you're going and you're sitting down with your lawyer, somebody who you have that relationship with and trust and respect, that is a great first move. I like what you're doing. I think that's cool. Now,
Thank you.
where do you see the market going over the next little while? Again, that's the $1 million question, obviously. But here we are in Canada, where we have seen a massive run up in real estate pricing. We've seen bond yields that are going crazy. Obviously, that's going to be affecting the interest rates that we're able to get. I was looking at mortgage rates the other day with RBC, Royal Bank of Canada, almost 9%. And that's crazy to me. Like, absolutely insane. They're talking about that some people in the lower level of credit are getting 9 and up percent. Where do you see the market moving here in the next, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months? What do you think's up our sleeves?
Well, they are predicting that in September next month that there is going to be another rate hike. And I believe it's supposed to be another 25 points, 0.25 points. It's going to be a hard pill to swallow, but I think interest rates are going further higher than just this September. This inflation is due from COVID, from massive overspending from the last 3 years, because we had to keep people alive. And this is the result of
politics, Connie. Connie said before, she's like, I'm not doing politics. She leads with COVID. I see how you are now.
Yeah. They always do that. They always tell us we don't want to talk about politics, and then they leave.
No.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm just kidding.
He's just teasing.
So no, we're seeing the results of COVID, and it's not gonna go away anytime soon. I think this inflation my guess is going to be around for 5 to 7 years.
So how do you think that's gonna? So I'm looking to buy another rental property, and Pat keeps on saying, wait. And his theory is that people are going to run into some problems because over the last few years, people are doing price wars and overpaying for houses. Are you finding that? And what are your suggestions for someone who's looking for a rental property like I am?
So, great question. So I have been talking to lawyers in the last few months, and I have talked to a lawyer in Ottawa not too long ago, and he actually said that he had clients that were in a dire situation, that they could not afford to renew their mortgage. They had to sell, and sell without commission fees, because that was cutting even more into their equity. So I think right now it's starting to trickle, but I think in the next 2 to 3 years, when people start to have to renew their mortgage, they may have bought in 2020 or 2021, and when they renew in 5 years, so 2025, 2026, there is going to be a real mass exodus of people that will have to sell.
Well, so I think, Connie, is that a lot of the people that are watching this are from the States, and their mortgage situation is very different than ours. Like, they can take a 30-year term mortgage, right? Where we look at that and we go, okay, we can stretch a 30-year mortgage, but we're going back to the bank every 2, 3, 5 years and renegotiating our rates, where you can lock a 30-year rate in. So for the last 2.5 years, when you had a market down in the States that was looking at, negative interest rates, holy shit, we were as close to negative as you could possibly get.
Yeah. And
now the Federal Reserve Bank and Jerome Powell down there is ratcheting, boom, 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 boom. This is the fastest interest rate hike that they've done ever. This is it's wild. And we haven't even started feeling it, because the States, to be honest with you, if you've got a 30-year term mortgage, you don't need to borrow money again. You're not pulling equity.
You're laughing. You're laughing.
Hey, exactly. So here in Canada, Britain, like Europe, I'm terrified about. And when we go back into the big financial catalysts that started a lot of the great financial crisis, the bubble in 2001 with the tech crisis, like the euro problems that we had in the mid 2000s, we are there again. Because when you have these shorter term legacy mortgages that are being renewed, when you ratchet mortgage rates the way that we have, you go and you bubble a real estate market. because they were able to purchase at low rates, afford those payments, and especially with inflation of wages that we saw over the last 3 years here, all of a sudden you get to the top of this and there's no one to buy. Here in Canada, I think we're maybe a little bit different because our immigration process, we're bringing people in. We are short housing. That's why our prices, supply, demand have been different. But these guys in the States, they can't fathom that, where you got to go back to the bank every 2 or 3 years and hope that you get a deal. That's our system, and it's just very different.
It is very.
I know before COVID, there was a problem in Vancouver and Toronto where outside investors were coming in and just swooping up housing. Is that still a factor? Or I know they were talking about changing laws to prevent that, but I know that it was just starting to get really hard to buy houses because these guys with lots of money were just walking in and buying it and taking them over.
So as of this January, the federal government imposed a federal foreign buyer ban. And so now the federal government has actually, for the Canadian federal government, has implemented certain regions within Canada that are foreign buyers are not allowed to buy. So as a buyer, as a new immigrant to Canada, it would make more sense to actually go to a lawyer to understand the foreign buyer ban, to make sure that when you do want to purchase, you're actually looking in a property area that you're actually allowed to buy. And that whole foreign buyer ban was actually implemented to cool off the huge buying spree of people coming in Vancouver and Toronto and buying up all the properties, and then Canadian residents weren't allowed, or actually more pushed out of the housing market and couldn't afford more inexpensive housing.
Well, so I sold a house here in Toronto. It's going back 6, maybe 7 years ago now. And before the ban, it was a tax. And the foreign buyer's tax ratcheted up the price for the individual that was purchasing. It was a Chinese national, and it was a 50% tax. And when we were negotiating the price of this property, we were going back and forth, and he just kept coming in with money. Like, I'm like, who is this guy, right? Like, he just up. And he goes, for me, this is an investment. I'll rent it out. I'll sit on it, all whatever. But for me, where I live in China, I couldn't afford this house at all because the Chinese market's gone so crazy. And the Chinese market has been very oddly affected over the last year and a half with, I don't know if you know much about like the Evergrande financial process that they have in China. They arguably are one of the largest Chinese home builders, manufacturers, well, actually in the world, but they are one of the bigger ones in China. But they were leveraging their pre-purchased values on homes. So if you wanted to buy a new build, they were basically saying to you, you pay in full before you get the property. So you pay me in full, I'll go build the property for you. Well, so now you have a situation where Evergrande ends up flopping. They end up going bankrupt because they're too widespread. Housing prices start to pull back. And you have all of these citizens in China that are saying, hey, I'm waiting for my house to be built. And they go, good luck.
Oh, wow.
So this was the start of the 2022 downturn in the stock market was this Evergrande crisis. And you had this Chinese debt crisis that was spinning off of that. Then that kind of filters into, well, are you going to sell as many Teslas in China next year if they can't afford their house? Are you going to sell the iPhones? That's the market fold over here. Now we're trying to roll over and figure out what's next for the real estate market around the world. Is China going to be strong? Is Europe going to be strong? Canada? Like, I don't know. Do we see a 25% pullback in the next 2 or 3 years? I think there's a pretty good chance.
What I've been noticing. Go ahead. Sorry. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Nope. We want you to talk. Go ahead. Sorry.
I do think a correction is in the future. Like, I would say, I don't know about a 25%, but I would say a good 10 to 15 correction. That would probably put it back more to the pre-COVID. And with COVID, money went super, super cheap and everybody just started going crazy. And they did not see the prediction or the future of having higher interest rates. And they were maximizing what they could afford and just going and buying. So everything's a cycle. So it will come back.
Yeah. So
I
again,
know.
but pre-COVID, I ended up buying my house, and I'll use my experience. Was I paid $530 for a 6-bedroom, 4-bath house in Peterborough, and like $530,000 for that property. That's now, arguably $1 million property. Like, if you have a pullback to renew that mortgage if you were a new buyer purchasing my property at $1 million at 8-9%, it doesn't compute.
No, it doesn't. That is unaffordable. People can't afford groceries and paying their mortgage, and so something has to give. They have to eat. They have to either downsize and find alternative housing, cheaper housing.
I know those the landlords right now. Like, I'm a landlord myself, so is Pat, and I know specifically in Toronto, not so much here right now. The interest rates outprice their being able to raise the rent, because here, I don't know if it's the same everywhere because I don't know enough, but here in Ontario you can only raise it so much. This year it was 2.7, so I was able to do that. But not everyone does that. Like, if you're small like me, you don't do it every year. But when you get a huge mortgage increase and you haven't raised your rent over that course of years, then it starts becoming a deficit, and you're actually paying money to keep someone in your house. Are you noticing that's happening a lot more, and people are deciding, you know what, I'm out? Or is there another way to deal with that's more efficient?
So I was actually talking to a colleague. He's actually on Victoria Island, or Vancouver Island, just in Victoria, and he deals with a lot of people in the rental area, and so he has been seeing that they're actually taking a loss right now because they can't increase the rental rates, and they're taking a loss. I don't know how business owners can continue that on a long-term scale when you're constantly taking a loss. If they have other means to circumvent that loss, obviously, but the only thing that gives is you have to eliminate the property, and hopefully not take too much of a big chunk away from equity. So
Well, that's it. And it's one of those situations where when you first start out and you're taking a loss, you're like, it's an investment. I've got 30-year horizon on this. Hey, I don't mind. I'll eat a couple payments here and there. The problem is that as those payments continue to add up and there's no end in sight, and you're not cash flowing, and the bank comes to you and says your rates went from 2.5% to 9%, you're jumping out your basement window, because that's as high as you can get. I think it's great talking to someone like yourself that understands, first of all, the real estate side of it, but also the kind of the macroeconomic side of it. It's refreshing, because I'm not gonna crap on real estate agents, but a lot of them are just, they decided that they're gonna sell houses today, right? So it's a little fly by night. There's some of them that are there for a very short period of time, moving on to work at a furniture store in a month and a half because they weren't great at real estate, maybe. But it's a really interesting business, because, like you said, is that you're handing somebody the largest financial decision of your life, and you're hoping that that person read a different book than you did.
Yes. So I actually have a funny story that happened just 2 days ago, and I think it actually sort of in relation to what value realtors really bring. I actually was in my dental chair, with a dental surgeon, freezing half of my face, about to pull a tooth. And as we were talking, we were actually talking about professions that AI could actually eliminate in the future. And so I started to pitch what I do and how, I am trying to change real estate and, potentially eliminate realtors. And so he actually said, off the cuff, very quickly, he said, yeah, you list your house at the peak of the COVID marketplace, and you pay 5% commission fees. It sells in a day, and you end up paying $100,000. So this is a dental surgeon that has gone to university for 10 years.
Yeah.
I would imagine that his annual income is somewhere between $300,000 to $400,000.
Yeah.
He ended up paying 1/4 of his annual salary in one day.
Wow.
Does that
Crazy.
make sense?
To
No.
somebody
No, it
that
doesn't.
might have not gotten high school.
Yeah.
Of high school. That like and I'm not shitting on soccer moms, but like
Yeah.
when the dental surgeon is saying like I'm paying 1/4 of my yearly salary for Helen or Johnny or whoever to walk in off the street and go, "Hi, welcome to the home."
And
That's
then
mind blowing.
pay them $100,000.
Yeah.
Yes.
And as far as I know, like it's not a hard course to get. Like it's I don't, is it even a college course? Like what is the
So
course?
actually, there used to be the educational process used to be through the Ontario Real Estate Association, but now they've actually passed that to Humber College, and Humber College manages the course, and it is a 2-year college course. So yeah,
What was it
maybe it's
before
been
that?
3 years. So when it was with AREA, you had to take there were 6 courses that you had to actually complete, but it was all managed through AREA. And so when you completed the 6 courses, then you got your license.
But
now
now it's
it's
a 2-year course that you have to apply for, get in,
yes,
and
yes.
then finish. And then can you right away hang up a tile and start selling houses, or do you have to like apply for a license, or how's that work?
Yes, so you do have to apply to the Real Estate Council of Ontario, who it is a governing body to manage all of the licensed brokerages, brokers, and salespeople. So you have to apply to RICO and pay your fees. There's a criminal record check, a part of that, and they then say yes, you are licensed.
So what would the criminal record? So in the work that I do, I have to do a vulnerable sector check. So anyone who's older or younger, I have to be
Yes.
allowed to work with them, and I also have to be that I haven't committed any theft crime or violent crime. Is it
Right.
a similar thing? Is that
It is more, I think, more fraudulent activity criminal record checks.
Are real
that there's-
estate agents bonded?
good question?
Good
'Cause
question.
You would need that for your
So-
bond.
So they are insured. So they
Right.
have an errors and omission insurance that they pay through the association that covers the public if your realtor sort of screws up.
Right.
So if they make a major gapping error, you can actually go to and put a claim in through their insurance.
Right.
We have a funny question, kind of funny question. It involves Pat, and I just want to throw it up there. Mark from Zen Sandwich. He has a great podcast. We love him. Anyway, here we go. Do squatters' rights exist in Canada? Can I just go over and take over one of Patrick's empty properties? And if he doesn't legally remove me, the property just becomes mine. I'd like to know this answer too, because I'm very close to Pat. Mark, I'll hop in. You come join me. I'll get the tent ready.
That is a great question. I am not a lawyer, so I don't think I can answer that.
I like it.
I say we try. I'm pretty sure we can hide under wire. He's a pretty busy man. So anyway, here's your website.
You likely you're going to get a few days before I'd find you anyways in that place. So sorry. Well, yeah. So walk me through. So your website here is kind of going over the general thing. So why don't we run through a savings calculator and you can kind of, we'll take an example and go from there. So let's say, you have $1 million property. Okay.
Yep.
5% commissions. Traditional real estate. So your service is $99.
So that is our B2C customer pricing. And since we are now partnering with real estate lawyers, the fees are actually paid to your lawyer, not to us. So that was our B2C direct to consumer model pricing.
Right. Okay.
So there is the commission fee breakdowns for both the listing agent fees and the buying agent fees. So with the listing agent fees, you're looking at the 25,000, and for the buying agent, there is also a 25,000. A lot of people actually also don't know that here in Canada, when you hire a realtor, you also have to pay HST. I've had a story of a gentleman that he probably sold a $2 million house and didn't realize he had to pay HST, and finally got to his lawyer on the day of closing, and then all of a sudden he was slapped with an $80,000 fee that he wasn't expecting. So
And you have to pay that outside of the money that's being exchanged. Like that's
correct.
that's come out of your
Yes.
pocket to nowhere.
Is that
Yeah.
new build for all sales?
That is so the HST applies to the services of your realtor. So any commission fees that you pay for your realtor are HST. But there's also you're referring to HST on new builds, and that is also a different fee structure for the property.
Okay.
Because HST is applicable when you buy brand new. HST is not applicable on a residential resale property that you buy. So you're only paying
Isn't
the
that
HST.
kind? Isn't that kind of
Pardon?
them? Isn't that kind of them?
Yes, it is very
Yeah.
kind.
Only 14% on your first time. After that, it's on us. Don't worry about it. Yeah. God bless them. God bless them for being so kind. I love
Very
it.
kind. First, they have to take half the money you make,
Yes.
Yeah.
and then your buying power.
Exactly.
So it looks like you basically cover every single question I could possibly come up with in a very easy to run through website. And I can go through this and get a pretty good idea of what it would cost me. What are the hidden costs? So when I was looking at houses, there were a couple of houses that had an oil furnace, and I didn't even think about it. But you have to buy the oil in the oil furnace, and you have to, if it doesn't have a proper survey yet, you have to pay for the survey. And there were so many kind of little hidden fees that I just wasn't aware of. Can you think of one that's like right out there that even surprised you through your career? Just
I nothing comes to mind right now. I know that the best thing to do is basically make sure you talk to your lawyer and have your lawyer understand some of the finer details. Only your lawyer truly understands the more intricate costs that come into play, because they actually do the statement of adjustments, and those are the fine, like that's the buying the oil in the oil tank, and understanding the charges there and the breakdown. So
do you think it's important to go to the bank before the lawyer, or the lawyer before the bank? Like, so I normally, like when I go to look at buying a home, I go to the bank first and I see what kind of money I have so I can go up front and do it. But in this situation, would you go to the lawyer first and look at it? What do you think?
So I would actually say go to the bank and the lawyer. You want to make sure you are understanding and have the legal protection behind you to know exactly what you're doing. And especially if you're a new Canadian and buying an area that, if there is with a foreign buyer ban, that you know that you are able to purchase, because you don't want to go through the hassle of looking and buying and knowing that you're not even able to purchase a property in an area when you're ready. So only the legal community can truly answer that question.
So if a refugee comes to Canada, like, is this what I'm getting here? A refugee comes to Canada, does not have a Canadian citizenship. They can't just go buy a house now.
No, they can't.
Oh.
They cannot just call a realtor and say, I want to buy a house in Peterborough, because first off, if they start looking in Peterborough, Peterborough might be off the list that they can't buy. So it's very segmented parts of Canada that allow foreign buyers to buy and purchase. So specifically, if you're a foreign buyer, you really do need to understand where you can buy. So I
But
would
even if
highly
you move
recommend.
your family all the way into Canada, you live in Canada, your kids are in Canada, you have a job in Canada, but you're not a legal citizen yet.
Correct.
Wow.
We've
So
done this
you-
historically, though.
Mind blown. Sorry?
We've done this historically, though. Like,
I didn't know that.
oh yeah, if you go back in history, I would, like, the Ukrainians, like different countries in Western Europe, when they came here, they didn't get to come to just to Toronto. You didn't get to come just to Montreal. We were the Saskatoon. You're going to go out to the west, and you're going to help kind of break in the country. And like this now, like it's a hot button topic because it's like, well, this sounds racist. This sounds all these sorts of things, and it's like, well,
Yes.
you're coming here, right? Like, we'll help you. We'll do whatever we can for you, but you're coming here. We need someone in Athabasca. So if you want to go open up a store there, we'd love to support you. That's fantastic. Here's your house, right? So no, we've done the historical.
Spread the population and encourage growth in other areas that are
100%.
still good. It's still safe. It's still everything. Just trying to encourage businesses and stuff.
Yes, it's basically trying to eliminate the Vancouver population boom when Canadian residents could not buy a house in Vancouver. Vancouver was probably the worst of it because more of the Asian community is in Vancouver. So Canadians can't afford to buy in Vancouver anymore. So.
We have another question here. It's pretty good. Mark, gotta love you. Are there any obligations to tell potential buyers about things not in plain view? E.g., oh yeah, forgot to tell you the house is actually haunted, but only once a year on Boxing Day. Mark loves Boxing Day. He didn't quite understand what it was, and we kind of explained it to him. But it's a good question. Like, so what if you find out the roof has a big hole in it and raccoons? And they knew about it, but they didn't disclose that to you.
So sellers are required to disclose all details that affect the enjoyment of the property. And that includes a big hole in the roof with raccoons living in there, or water in the basement, or if they potentially think that the house could be haunted. They have to disclose that. And also if they even know that someone died in the home, they have to disclose that. Not all realtors would probably ask, so do you know if there's a house is this house haunted?
Right. Was there a murder committed this last week?
Yeah. The way we have built it in our platform is, with our platform, we really are trying to protect both the buyer and the seller. And we have default conditions to make it as easy as possible to actually have your legal protection in place for both parties. So you don't actually even have to worry about that, because for a buyer, there's actually a default condition that says, you as the seller, you are obligated to disclose anything that you need to know, that I need to know for the enjoyment of this property. You are legally obligated to disclose that. And if not, I can come back to you and sue your pants off. Yeah. So, and that is built into the—
and they're very generic type term sheets. Like, what you're doing is you're just taking the guy that hands it across the table going, and you're taking him out of the equation. The lawyers are still there to make sure that all of that jargon is there, because otherwise it's, when you deal with Remax as an agent, it's the Remax term sheet. And there might be some, jargon from one to another, but it's pretty cookie cutter unless there's the dead body hanging in the closet when you went on the showing. So yes. I love what you guys are doing. I think it's a great thing. How do people get in touch with you? How do they get into your product, and what advice do you have for them to pitch? This is your elevator shot. What do you think?
You can contact me at Connie at DIYoffer.ca. The website is DIYoffer.ca. The elevator pitch is we help you sell your home with the assistance of your lawyer, which helps you eliminate your commission fees and you're always legally protected. We have a negotiation platform that allows you to negotiate directly with buyers, eliminates the agents, and you get a better experience because you are fully in control and you actually know the process. It's an easy step-through process. And when you're all done negotiating and you say, yeah, this offer is good, you can actually then go to your lawyer and the lawyer will take over and complete the whole transaction for you.
So currently right now, you're looking for lawyers, people are selling houses, people are buying houses, and then you're also looking for people that you can vet that are doing home inspections and all sorts of different things so that you have a safe platform that I can go to, one-stop shop, and I know all of these people have been checked out, they're safe,
Yes.
and I can trust them.
Yes. So it is really a one-stop shop for sellers to come to list the properties, buyers to come view properties, contact the sellers directly in the process if they need to find a home inspector, or if they need to find any other service. Once they find the deal, they need to book the mover. They can find that all through the platform.
It's almost like he listened or something.
Almost.
That's
I
pretty
just
good.
don't listen. I spend a lot of time with this man, and I stop listening. I just glaze over when he talks. But when you talk, Connie, delightful. You have a delightful voice. Connie, I just want to say I have learned so much today. I know the profiteers out there, that's what we call the people that are watching. They've learned so much. Thank you, Raquel, Sia, Zen, Tammy, Stephen Ing, all you people, all the hounds out there for coming and watching and asking such great questions. I really appreciate it. Once again, shout out to Walking Tall, greatest organization out there, helping people with mental health, such a big thing. I love it. Connie, this is kind of the wrap up of the show here. So what we do now is that I'm going to do a little talk, and then after I'm done, I say my little phrase, my little goodbye, then Pat will do his thing, and then he'll do his little goodbye, and then it's you, Connie. You're up, and then you got words of wisdom, whatever you think, it'll be your time to shine. Like I said, Walking Tall, go check out their website, buy their merch, see what they're doing. They're doing some incredible stuff. They've done some stuff with the Chicago Blackhawks to raise awareness. They just recently helped a young man who is a victim of a shooting, who is confined to a wheelchair. They're doing great things, and I just love them, which is why I bought the shirt and why I keep on promoting it. Next week, we have the amazing Raquel. You might have saw her last week eating wings with us, hot wings. She ate it like a champ and didn't even tear up or nothing. Pat and I suggest you go look at it. I was almost crying and vomiting. Pat himself was crying about it. It was not a good time for us Canadians there. Apparently, we're talking about maybe doing it again at some point, but I'm thinking like we find like we coming up, we have like this great cookie product. So I'm thinking we like eat some cookies, have a chat. I don't know what you hounds think, but let's make that happen because I'm into that. Thank you so much for attending. It's always a pleasure having you all out there. Connie, I think what you're doing is like earth-shattering, world-changing. When I went to buy my first house, it was the hardest thing I ever did. And it was terrifying because it was the biggest purchase I've ever made in my life. And I didn't know what to do. I had all these people talking over my head, talking in a different language. And your site that I just saw totally explained it. Nice, beautiful layout. I love what you're doing, and please keep doing it. Yeah. Profiteers out there, let's heal our minds, bodies, and souls together.
Yeah, Connie, I think it's great. Anything you get an opportunity to kind of disrupt an industry, and the real estate industry has been looking for something for years. And there's been some people that have popped in and they've had a great concept, and now it's about traction. And Connie, I think you've got the personality, you've obviously got the knowledge to be able to put people in the right position, to be able to make an informed decision on the largest financial decision of their life. And here in Canada, we use our homes very much like an ATM machine. So if you put yourself in a situation where you can't leverage and you're borrowing and you want to pay off the truck, or you want to pay off the boat, or you want to X, Y, and Z, a lot of people are going to their house. And if you don't know how to get yourself out of that deal when you get yourself into that deal, that's a big problem. So Connie,
Right.
I love what you're doing. I think it's fantastic. I'll look forward. Hopefully we'll have you on here next time and you've got 100,000 listings and you've got all these people all set up. I love it. And one of the things that you brought up, and I'll be really quick with this, is that you talked about AI. How do you think AI is going to interact with the real estate business?
Great question. I do think that there is definitely a further development in further AI, and a negotiation platform can really be the first part of that piece.
Cool.
And really, it's more of giving people the information. And that's where our role really is to educate the consumers. Did I think both of you froze? No. And so, yeah, I think the biggest piece is just to educate consumers. I want to educate consumers. I want people to know that there is an alternative out there. I want people to know that if they are using the services of an agent, if they have to rely on the agent, make sure that you still consult your lawyer, because your realtor is not giving you legal advice, to make sure you're legally protected. Because if you do fall through the cracks, and if you have a litigation case, you want to make sure your lawyer is there with you. So
and understood the process that you were trying to do. You know, you might not be nailing it on the head, but at least when you're heading to court for a trial, he knows what you were all thinking at the time. So I love that. Connie, again, I want to thank you what you're doing. We're going to keep a close eye on you and what you're doing. And from me, all those profiteers out there, you're going to have to check us out again real soon. Let's make some money together, folks. And Connie, send us out with some words of wisdom, something to send these folks home off to bed tonight.
Be real. You know what? Just if you are, whatever you do, just do it. And if, you know, I understand that I'm trying to change the industry, but I also understand that people are in the need to have assistance. But whatever you do, make sure you're protecting yourself.
Love it.
That's awesome. I love that.